Today we're going to be making leaf print dishes similar to these. This is a rather large one made with grass. This one's made from a sycamore leaf. We'll be doing a small one today, something more like this. A little one here made from a pawpaw leaf. Or this one here. So today we're going to be making a leaf print dish similar to the ones here. Basically what we're going to be doing is pressing a leaf into the moist clay in order to leave an imprinted design into it. You can see a lot of different things can be used. This was a blue spruce. This came from a tulip poplar. This one you might recognize. This is dandelion. This I think came from a pawpaw tree. And you can see very delicate little plants work very well to press into the clay. Not just leaves and plants can be used. This print was made using a cockroach. There's the other side of the roach, and a positive of it. This was made by pressing clay into the mold. So not only plants can be used, people even use fish and other things to press into clay. So today I'll be making two dishes. I'm going to make one with these white oak leaves, or at least with one of the white oak leaves. I'm going to make one with a red bud leaf as well. I like the red bud leaf because it looks a lot like a heart. First, you're going to need to prepare your workspace. You're going to need water and your slip. You're going to need paper to work on. I've got paper underneath here. And I've got a couple of extra pieces of paper too. Another piece of this brown paper from a brown paper bag. And I've just got a couple of scraps of paper around that I can use when I need them as well. You're going to need your ceramics kit, in particular the clay, one or two of the tools that you've been using, and of course the container that has your slip and the applicator so that you can apply the slip. You should have a damp rag or a sponge for cleanup. And you're going to need a leaf. I'm going to be using two of them because I'm going to make two of these today. I'm going to use a red bud leaf and I'm going to use an oak leaf. This one happens to be a white oak leaf. You're going to use about half of the amount of clay that you have left in your bag. This will be our second project. So you've gone through so far about 1/3 of a pound of clay. Right now we're going to go through another 1/3 of a pound. So you're going to cut what you have left in half. Put the rest of the clay back in the bag where it came from so it stays moist. And what you're going to want to do is to make this into a ball first. Flatten it out into a pancake. And I'm doing this slowly. I'm not working real fast. All right, I'm taking my time. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this clay and I'm tossing it down to the table at an angle, at about a 30-degree angle down towards the table. What that does is it sort of smears the clay along. It makes it want to flatten itself out. And you can get a pretty good slab this way. So you may have to do it a few times in practice. You're not throwing it straight down. You're throwing it down at an angle, about 30 degrees towards the table. So this piece here looks to be about large enough. Make sure that the vein side is down on the clay. Notice one side of the leaf has veins on it. You can feel them. That's the side that you want downward so that they print into the clay. And then I'm going to take my second piece of paper and put it right there on top and just rub that down in. Just going to rub it down in there. You can sort of feel where the leaf is in there. I'm trying not to, like, you know, put big marks into the clay. I'm not flattening out the clay a whole lot more. I'm just pressing the leaf into the clay. You can peek at it if you want. That looks pretty good. If the clay seems to be stuck to the paper, you can put your hand underneath and sort of pop it up a little bit, and you can get the edge of it without having to really, you know, deform the clay at all. So with this leaf dish, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to make it a lot like these ones here. Okay, these ones are cut out to the exact shape of the leaf. So I'm going to do something very similar to that for this. You're going to need the tool that you made last week, the little wood tool. And we're just going to cut right around the outside edge. Okay, so you want to like peel up the part that's around it, away from it. And again, if you need to pop it off of there, you can put your hand underneath and pop it up. You want to be extremely careful with this thing. So from this point forward, it's a good idea to work on a separate piece of paper. So I've got a separate piece of paper here. This just scrap of paper that is something that I'd used last week. And I'm going to work on top of this. I'm keeping the leaf on the slab of clay for now. I'm keeping the leaf on there. Okay? That leaf is going to help to sort of protect. If I took that leaf off of there, I could easily erase the print with my fingers. So keeping the leaf on there is going to sort of protect what's underneath it. It's going to keep the print, you know, better than if I were to remove the leaf at this point. So the leaf is going to stay on there. I'm just curling up the edges so it has the shape of a dish. Okay? Just curling it up like this. Just has a little bit of an edge to it. Not going to bring it up too much right there. I'm going to leave it down where the middle of the heart is, or whatever that part of it. And then we're going to make a foot for this thing. The foot for this one, I'm going to use some of what we have here. So since I have some scraps of slab here, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out some long strips of it. Okay, so a couple of slabs to work with. It'd probably be a good idea to make something that might be heart-shaped, similar to this. Okay, we're going to score and slip this together. Score and slip. Anything that's going to stick, so I'm going to score and slip it here. Scoring is the scratching. I'm going to scratch it up right in here as well. And then we're going to put a little bit of slip on that area because I want it to stick together right there. This is going to be the foot on this thing. It's not going to be a round foot. It's going to be a heart-shaped foot because this thing is heart-shaped. And right there at the bottom, I'm going to score and slip there as well. And a little bit of slip. And then we'll go ahead and close that up. So that's going to be the foot that's going to go on the bottom of this thing. Trim that down a little bit. And then we're going to flip this over. You want to be really careful with it because it's extremely fragile right now. So what you can do is use another piece of paper, a second piece of paper, put that over the back of it, and then you can slide the whole thing off the table like this onto your hand. If you sandwich it, then you can turn it over very easily without touching it. And now I can figure out about where I want to put the foot. So that foot's going to go on here somewhere. Yeah, I like it better this way. It's going to go on like that. I want to mark where I'm going to score it. I'm being very, very delicate right now. Okay, now I want to score both pieces. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and slip it. Slip both sides of it. And then we'll go ahead and attach that foot to the bottom of it. Wiggle it in. And then you can use tools to sort of come around and clean up that edge. You may use the round end of your cutting tool, or if you've created something that has a squared off end, that might be a good one as well. But you know, you can come in along the edge and just clean that up. Clean up that edge a little bit, you know, wipe around that extra slip that's stuck out there. You can take off the score marks that might be, you know, outside of the area. Just clean it up. You have 3 of these tongue depressors in your toolkit, so you know, you can cut a couple of them up into different shapes. You're probably going to want one that has a nice good point on it like this, and I would recommend having one that has a chisel point at some point because that comes in handy a lot. I'm going to tip it back over. We can do it with our paper. That is the best way to tip it over. It is stronger now that it has a foot on there. I'm going to make sure that it's like the shape is good. That means, you know, bending up the edge just a little bit like this. And then I can go ahead and take the leaf off if I want to. You may want to leave it on. If you want to leave it on, that's fine. It'll just burn away when it gets fired. And right now I am softening the edges. So I would recommend softening your edges when you're done so that you know you don't have that very harsh cut edge. It's just the softening of the edge is just rounding off the right angle from the cut. That's all I'm doing, just going around very lightly, taking off the very edge of that cut angle. If you need a little bit of water, don't hesitate to use it, but just remember you don't want to make it too soft. The water might help to really round off that edge though. You only have to make one. I will make 2, however, because I want to do another one. I'm just making another one. But there's a finished one. The last thing I'd want to do with this is to flip it over and sign it with my initials. And my period number. I put the infinity because I'm here all day. I never leave. So I'm MM Infinity. Just like that right there. Okay, make sure you have easy to read initials and a period number that I can see and read. Okay, leaf dish number 2. I'm going to start off with about the same amount of clay, and I'm basically going to make it into a ball to get started with. So first I'm just flattening it out in my hand, sort of like a pancake or maybe a hamburger patty or something. Down at the table at an angle. Okay, I'm throwing it down at like a 30-degree angle towards the table, and you can see that each time I do that it gets a little bit bigger. Okay, it gets a little bit like, you know, wider like that. Every time I do that it's going to get a little bit bigger until it's as large as I want it to be. And I'm trying to make a leaf dish of one of these white oak leaf, I think is the one I'm going to use. Now, white oak is the Maryland state tree. I think I'm going to use 2 of them, and I'm going to place them in here together. Maybe like this and this, perhaps. Yeah, that looks good. We'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 white oak leaves in there. Notice that I put them vein side down. The side that has texture goes against the clay. Place the other paper right on top, and then I'm just going to rub into it. Okay, I'm using the palm of my hand. I'm using my thumb. I'm trying not to put any like fingerprints straight into it, so I'm using broad areas to sort of press those 2 leaves into this. Now I want to take that, I'm going to cut around it a little bit, because I'm not going to keep it exactly the size and shape that it is. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to cut down, just like, I'm going to make a circle around this, like some sort of a ovoid kind of a circle shaped thing. Alright, and I'm going to remove the outer portion of it. We can go underneath it again to pick up that clay, just so you know it's easier to pick up that way. And then I'm going to go ahead and start making it into more of a dish shape by sort of curling up the edges. And it's probably at this point in time a good idea to go ahead and get it onto like a secondary piece of paper. I'm going to flip it over and go ahead and put the foot on. We can use some of this to make the foot. So we're going to make a foot ring for the bottom of it. So I'm going to roll it into a coil. A little tiny bit of water because it's starting to dry out. Okay, that's going to be the foot that goes on the bottom of this. But I think I'm going to flatten it out a little bit. So I'm going to take my piece of paper again and just go right down along it, flattening it out. Flattening it out this way as well. And I think I'm going to cut that right down the middle. Now it's time to score and slip. Then we're going to measure about where it goes and make a mark where it goes. Okay, we can flip it back over. Check on it, make sure it looks good. You can soften your edges a little bit. That really helps. That's a good thing to do in the end of something. Too much moisture can make the whole thing really soft, so be careful. You want it to have a little bit of stiffness so it retains its shape. If you want to take your leaves off, you can do that to see the print underneath it. This one's going to be a little harder to get off. I'll use a tool. Maybe go up underneath that part right there. And there it is. You can see the print in there. Looks nice. It's a good one.